at a secret location on the edge of South Africa's famous Kruger National Park, close to the border with Mozambique. It is Care for Wild's Rhino Sanctuary, the largest orphan rhino refuge in the world. I can't disclose its precise location because the young rhino remain in danger from poachers. I'm here to report on a unique project, one that brings together fragile human beings in the form of damaged military veterans and equally fragile animals in the form of vulnerable baby rhinos. The Footprints of Hope project has been organised by a British-based charity called Veterans for Wildlife. It's a project close to my heart because of my long-term support for those leaving the armed forces and my long enjoyment of observing wild animals in their natural environment. Furthermore, I have personally sponsored this first Footprints of Hope project.
Basically, the idea of the project is to bring them out into a completely different environment from the environment they're usually in, which will give them a different perspective, especially when they're working with things like baby rhinos that also suffer from PTSD due to their mothers being poached. The main goal of the project is to give them coping mechanisms so that when they go back to the UK, they can use these coping mechanisms in their day-to-day lives to deal with their struggles.
My mental health issues came about 2 years after, maybe a year after I left the army. Obviously trying to cope with the civilian side of life was quite hard for me. I ended up being quite aggressive on a regular basis. Anger was taking over. I didn't understand what was going on. I did get blew up in Iraq, which where I took shrapnel wounds, but that was something which was dealt with within the first few weeks maybe of me coming back from Iraq. But as a result of that has obviously brought on my PTSD. We had the calf come in a few days ago, and instantly I think some people were a bit worried about us, maybe triggering us, helicopters, a lot of thingy, but it was just training straight away. Casualty coming in, that's how I projected it. And adrenaline was up. I thought, right, okay, we got a casualty coming in. How do we do it now? We dealt with it afterwards, mixed emotions, and I think that us being involved with there, I hope it did run a bit more smoothly, if you know what I mean. I didn't think it'd have this much effect on me, if I'm being honest. And yesterday I was sat down last night, and I was starting to get a bit overwhelmed with it all. That someone can take such a beautiful creature and, you know what I mean, and mutilate it, and then obviously orphan something which is so vulnerable. Yeah, it hit me quite hard. Come. There you go. I like Summer. Yeah. She's quite aggressive in the morning. She starts and she's only about this big, and she bullies all the big ones. She's quite a funny character, like, and yeah, I think she's probably my favourite, if not the new one which is coming, Rainbow.
Being in the military, being a dog handler, like, I'm obsessed with animals, always have been, and I feel good when I'm helping someone or something else, whether that be human or animal. So I've got that. I haven't had that feeling since I left the army, like a year and a half ago. I've lost that feeling. I've learnt things I didn't know about my mental health, that I would make an excuse in another way, and actually by facing it I've just learnt so much, and I've learnt stuff that I didn't even know was still there, like being around the baby rhino. I've struggled with that because so now I found out, like with Jovica's help, that it's actually because she reminds me of me, but I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, why don't I want to be around a baby rhino? Like, I'm obsessed with this, I love this is why I came. But actually the fact that she was running around the bush, her mother was injured, and then she ended up out of the wild, lost, with no one to go to, like, and Jovica was like, it, you know, led me to my own realisation that in fact she reminds me of me. So now we're doing work to get over that. So yeah, it's amazing, so good. Oh, I mean, I just cannot apprehend how someone can damage another animal. And then today I was cutting down a tree with a machete to, you know, because the low hanging branches, and I just looked at this machete and I was like, how do they do this? Like, like, how do they take this and harm those animals? Like, I can't comprehend it. And I honestly wish, like, they just realised that harming animals is not okay and that the reasons for it are wrong. Oh, it infuriates me so much. I wish I could save every single one of them. I've got a completely different mindset, a completely different thought process. It really is. I've only been here a week, and by the third day, it had already changed my life.
I think I have so much hope for them. You know, when the day the baby came in, the rhino baby came in, they just jump into gear. It's like, yes, I've got a team here, you know, that knows what to do. I think it will do them so well. To see them sitting and helping and accomplish something and being out there and being part of a team, I think, I cannot tell you, I think we can actually learn from them. And because they understand the trauma the animal went through, it does help them in that compassion. I saw when they were sitting with this new baby rhino that came in that lost her mom, it was good. It was almost that you can ask them, listen, what do you think? Is she doing well? How is her body language? And so on. And they really you contribute towards what's happening with her.
On my second tour, on the road move back to Camp Bastion, but we basically drove over an IED. In that incident, my driver, he unfortunately passed away, and a friend of mine, he was sitting inside the front cab, so he got badly burned and broke both his legs. Myself, I lost both my legs. My left leg is through knee amputation, my right leg is a below knee amputation. I punctured my left lung, fractured my right collarbone, I've got burns to both arms and both legs, and I have a T8 spinal fracture which is fused now. And I think that's it. I applied for this project because I knew from reading about it, I knew it was going to be something totally different. It's all well and good doing one-to-one therapy with a counsellor where we're sitting as we are now and saying, tell me about yourself and why do you feel this and how are you feeling, etc, etc. But this is completely different, completely out of the ordinary. I'm sitting down with these rhinos, and especially with the new calf which came in just a few days ago, and I spent time with it, just sitting down with it and just watching it sleep and just thinking, we worry about so much back home. I was in with the new baby calf for a good few hours, and she was coming up to me loads and everything, and I was giving her a hug and everything, and some of the photos from the slideshow which you got shown before, that last day end one we were touching heads and that, it was just a beautiful moment, and that's something I'll always remember. But then also another time when myself and a couple of others, we had just fed two of the other rhinos, and they were in their pens. But then straight after their milk, they were like babies. Well, they are babies. But straight after their milk, they went into that milk coma and fell asleep. And we just stood there and just watched them.
So I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in January 2017. I started to have symptoms probably late 2014. I wasn't aware of, despite having nightmares, it took a while for it to click what was going on. I saw it online, and at the time I was going through a really, really tough time. So I was aware that there was a possibility that I would be leaving the military. So obviously when you join, expecting to have a full career, and then you obviously get ill, and then there's that possibility then that you're gonna lose your career, what you love and what, you know, is your foundation. It's quite a scary time. Sophia is my rhino who I was paired up with. When I was initially told about her story, and obviously she'd been through multiple traumas, I didn't know how I would react. I wanted to run away basically. Once I heard her story, I didn't want to be close to her. And over time, hearing how sassy she is and that she actually leads the group made me a bit more comfortable. So that's been a highlight for me, to be able to build that relationship and sort of take that step forward. Even when we had the baby come in, my instinct was to sort of step back and withdraw, but I didn't. I went ahead and got involved. I think there's an understanding of what they've experienced. I think it's when you've been through that difficult time, you have that empathy, you get it. I think as much as you can empathise with people or animals, if you haven't experienced it, it's hard to get it. I think it's been amazing. I think there's been a couple of times where I've sat and the new baby, I think they're going to call her Rainbow, and she was sleeping behind me, and that being in the present moment and realising that there is a baby rhino slept next to me, that is probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and to be able to have those connections is amazing. So I would 100% recommend it.
The 5 veterans, the 2 Jennifers, Pete, Chris and Martin, are a courageous and determined group of individuals, and my respect for them is immense. Sadly, 2 weeks in South Africa can't solve all of their physical and mental problems at a stroke. However, I feel sure that in the short term, it has alleviated them, and in the long term, it has left them better equipped to face whatever challenges the future holds. It's been a huge privilege for me to have been able to come here to observe and interview the military veterans. I can see that without doubt the veterans have benefited enormously from their role here, as of course have the young rhinos that they've been looking after around the clock. And I congratulate Wes Thompson and all those who have worked so hard to make this initial Footprints of Hope project such a success.